In the complex and volatile world of the young and the restless, secrets are constantly being revealed and relationships are full of calculations that always leave viewers surprised. One of the most thrilling and dramatic stories right now is the revelation that Damian Cain, a character who is already full of mystery and hidden connections, is actually the real brother of the anonymous Dumas. However, this truth is not easily revealed and will lead to a journey full of tension, intrigue and unforeseen risks. In this context, Nick Newman, a man who always protects his family and does not hesitate to confront dangers, is forced to speak up to warn Lily Winters about Damian's actions. But will Lily be vigilant enough to recognize Damian's evil schemes, or will she be deceived by his calm and mature appearance? The mystery behind Damian Cain is no stranger to the Newman family, but few people know that behind this name is a story full of secrets. Damian is known as a strong, intelligent man who is constantly trying to rise up in the ambitious world. However, through a process of deep investigation, a horrifying truth was revealed. Damian is not only a man with deep relationships with many underground forces, but he is also the biological brother of Dumas, the anonymous person that no one expected. This relationship is not only a shock to the Cain family but also has a profound impact on those around him. Through each step and details revealed in the story, we gradually understand that Damian is not only a calculating person, but also has dark secrets about the past. Dumas, who many believe is a ghost in the underworld, turns out to be an important part of Damian's life. As the brothers' connection is revealed, a tidal wave begins to rise, and everything around them begins to change. Damian, for years, has kept his relationship a secret, fearing that the truth about Dumas will cost him everything he has built. However, now that the truth is revealed, Damian has no choice but to face his past. Nothing will ever be the same again, and the things Damian has done to protect this secret will begin to affect everyone he comes into contact with. Nick warns Lily of Damian's danger as the truth about Damian's relationship with Dumas begins to emerge. Nick Newman cannot help but worry about the consequences his family may face. As someone who has always been devoted to protecting his family, Nick cannot ignore the danger Damian poses. Especially when he was approaching Lily Winters, an important member of the Newman family and someone who had a close relationship with Victor. Nick understood that Lily was not someone who could be easily deceived, but he was also aware that Damian was a cunning man and capable of concealing his true intentions. Moreover, the relationship between Lily and Damian had never been clear. Damian might appear to Lily as a calm, steady man, but Nick knew that in this world, such things could not always be trusted. Nick decided to speak up, warning Lily about Damian's actions. He not only advised Lily to be extremely cautious, but also emphasized that Damian might be trying to exploit her to exploit important information. Nick realized that Damian might be approaching Lily not only for personal reasons, but also for darker motives that he was hiding. Nick understands that Lily needs to open her eyes and look at things more carefully, to avoid falling into the trap that Damian is setting. Lily and the decision to listen Lily Winters, with her intelligence and wisdom, is a person who is able to see through the schemes in life. However, she also has her own weaknesses, and one of them is trusting the people around her. Even though she is an important part of the Newman family, Lily still cannot avoid being caught up in difficult situations that she cannot foresee. When Nick gives her warning, Lily cannot help but feel worried. However, she is also a very determined person and is not easily swayed by anxiety. She knows that in this life, no one can simply ignore the obvious signs of danger. But can she really look at Damian objectively and realize that he may be hiding dark plots? Lily decided to think carefully about Nick's warning. She didn't want to jump to conclusions about Damian, but she couldn't ignore the suspicions that were slowly forming in her heart. She began to notice strange signs in Damian's behavior and realized that there might be something he was hiding. Damian is no ordinary man in this world. He is a man who can control everything around him, and the truth about his relationship with Dumas only adds to his power and danger. Damian's actions are not simply to maintain power, but also to protect the secrets he does not want to reveal. As the truth gradually comes out, Damian will face resistance from those he once trusted. However, this does not mean that he will easily give up on his goals. Damian will constantly look for ways to exploit opportunities, and with his cunning, he will not ignore anyone who can help him get closer to his goals. Relationships on The Young and the Restless are always unpredictable challenges, and the appearance of Dumas, along with the truth about Damian, will create unpredictable waves. Nick will stop at nothing to protect his family, but will he be able to stop the machinations that Damian is hiding? The end, Damian's end? As the truth about Damian and Dumas is revealed, will his actions be exposed? Will Lily be strong enough to confront Damian's machinations and protect her family? These questions will continue to haunt viewers as the world of The Young and the Restless continues to unfold with mysteries and calculated relationships. The Young and the Restless is full of mysteries and complex relationships. Every decision the characters make can change the game, and in this story, it is Nick Newman's investigation of Aristotle, a man with a shady connection to Damian Cain and the surprises behind. Phyllis and Sharon, decisive decisions. When Phyllis Summers and Sharon Newman decided to take action, they could not have expected that those decisions would create a chain of events that could change their lives and those around them. From the first moments of the story, Sharon felt the tension in her heart, not only because of her family life but also because of her relationship with Phyllis, a friend who was once close to her but now made her think more carefully than ever. Phyllis, who always knows how to create storms in any situation, is now facing a greater danger than ever. Knowing that Sharon may have to make an important decision regarding her relationship with those around her, Phyllis does not hesitate to advise Sharon to boldly embark on a challenging journey. But can Sharon follow Phyllis's advice without causing unforeseen consequences? Devon and personal concerns. While Phyllis and Sharon are facing important decisions, Devon Hamilton is facing an equally serious concern. After discovering information from an unknown source, Devon begins to suspect something that he cannot ignore. His anxiety grows as he realizes that the secrets surrounding his acquaintances may be much bigger than he thought. He is not only worried about unexpected situations that may happen to the people he loves, but also about something deeper that he cannot explain. Devon turns to Michael Baldwin to check the information he has gathered. His concerns were compounded when Michael failed to provide any concrete evidence, only to say that, according to information from an unknown source, Aristotle, the man Devon was investigating, did not seem to have any direct connection to the Winters family, although his connection to Damian Cain was rather vague. This only added to Devon's suspicions. He could not let these suspicions go unanswered. Victor and the reason for reporting. When Victor Newman received the information from Michael, he understood that this was an opportunity to solve a major problem facing the Newman family. In particular, he wanted to report back to Lily Winters about what he had discovered. Victor was not a person who easily trusted anyone, but the truth Michael provided made him feel somewhat relieved. Although there was no solid evidence that Aristotle was after the Winters family, and his connection to Damian Cain seemed to be a coincidence, Victor still felt the need to share this information with Lily. Lily, who had always been loyal to her family and her work, felt relieved to know that there was no obvious danger threatening the Winters family. However, she also realized that this information could open up a new direction. If Aristotle was not a real threat, then what about Damian Cain? These questions were not easily answered, and Lily, although somewhat relieved, could not shake off the feeling of unease. Victor, as a father, always wanted to protect his children, but he did not forget to ask Lily for help in continuing to monitor the situation. How would Lily decide in the face of Victor's urgency? Nick, the investigation expands. While Lily is thinking about Victor's proposal, Nick Newman has begun his own investigation. He realizes that in order to understand Aristotle and his connection to Damian Cain, he needs to dig deeper. For Nick, the most important thing is to find out the truth about the relationship between Aristotle and Damian. Are they brothers, or is there another secret hidden? Nick decides not to let this ambiguity linger and begins a full investigation. He searches for undisclosed information about Aristotle and what happened in his past. After a while, Nick discovers that there are more complicated connections between Aristotle and Damian than just coincidence. Are Aristotle and Damian brothers, or is there a deeper connection between them? With growing suspicions, Nick decides to continue his investigation, and he wants Lily to join him in this plan. Nick knows that Lily is a sharp analyst and has connections that can help him solve this mystery. However, will Lily agree to join Nick in this plan? Is she willing to face the potential dangers that this investigation may bring, or will she refuse to protect her family and career? Every decision can change everything, and on The Young and the Restless, no one can predict what will happen. Phyllis and Sharon's decisions will affect their lives and those around them, while Devon is still worried about hidden secrets. Victor and Lily's story will bring up complicated relationships and undiscovered truths. Nick's investigation into Aristotle and Damian will take him down a dangerous path, and Lily's involvement could create major changes in her relationship with the Newman family. Will they find out the truth behind it all, or will it just complicate things further? The future is still open, and the story will continue to gradually reveal undisclosed secrets. The Young and the Restless has always made viewers question relationships, trust, and decisions, and this story will certainly be no exception. In the world of intrigue and complex relationships of The Young and the Restless, small decisions of the characters can lead to big changes. From Victor Newman's worries about Aristotle's moves to Devon's doubts about Damian and Nate's relationship, the story becomes more and more tense. Will they control the situation, or will they be dragged into a vortex with no way out by their own decisions? Victor and his worries. Victor Newman, with his strategic vision and careful calculation in every step, is not someone who is easily surprised. But this time, when faced with the appearance of Aristotle, an old rival in the past, Victor cannot help but feel worried. Aristotle, with his unclear secrets and complicated relationships, makes Victor have to find a way to deal with. This time, he cannot rely solely on the strength of the Newman family but must think of more sophisticated strategies. As reports of Aristotle's movements become clearer, Victor realizes that if he does not act quickly, he may lose the upper hand. So he decides to make a proposal to Lily Winters. He wants Lily involved not only because she is an important part of the Winters family, but also because of her ability to solve complex problems. Victor hopes that Lily will agree to help him attract Aristotle into the spotlight, to draw his rival into a situation that he can control. Victor wants Lily to use her intelligence and ingenuity to highlight Aristotle, making him exposed and vulnerable to attack. However, will Lily agree to participate in Victor's plan, and if she does, what challenges will she face? Devon, the unending worry. Devon Hamilton, who has always been devoted to his family and his company, will face an unending worry. After hearing Victor's suggestion of Lily joining in on the plan to lure Aristotle, Devon couldn't sit still. Although he had always been behind Victor in important decisions, this time Devon couldn't help but have doubts. Devon was well aware that risking offending Aristotle wasn't an easy thing to do, especially considering the relationship between Aristotle and Damian Cain. If Devon had had bad experiences with Damian in the past, the connection between Damian and Aristotle made him even more cautious. Worried about the possible consequences, Devon wouldn't hesitate to warn Lily about getting too close to Aristotle, especially considering the unforeseen consequences. However, Devon would have to face his own conflicts. Although he was always worried about protecting his family, he also felt that interfering in Victor's plan could create conflicts within the Newman family. Meanwhile, Lily, with her stubbornness, may not accept Devon's advice. Their relationship has not always been smooth, and this time, the differences in perspectives will be more obvious than ever. Damian and Nate, a new relationship? While Victor worries about Aristotle and Devon is skeptical about Lily's plans, another story is beginning to unfold. Damian Cain, who was once known for his dark schemes and unpredictable relationships, is slowly building a new relationship with Nate Hastings. Coming to Chicago to visit Amy Lewis, who has just been admitted to the hospital for a new treatment, Damian and Nate have the opportunity to get closer, forming a new bond. Nate, who has had a rather complicated and challenging past, did not expect to connect with Damian, who he had never trusted before. However, after deep conversations and empathy in difficult times, Nate begins to see Damian in a different light. Is this a turning point in their relationship, or just a temporary easing of past tensions? However, when Nate brags to Devon about the relationship he is developing with Damian, Devon feels uneasy. Although Nate has no intention of hurting anyone, Devon has reason to be skeptical. He fears that Nate will become too trusting, especially considering Damian's mysterious past. Devon does not easily believe what Damian says and does. He knows that behind the sweet words, there may be some dark plan that Damian is gradually carrying out. Devon's suspicions become even more clear when he realizes that Damian hasn't changed at all. Although Damian and Nate seem to be getting closer, Devon can't ignore the warning signs. He doesn't trust this new brotherly relationship, especially since Damian doesn't seem to have completely given up on his own goals. With growing concern, Devon decides to intervene. He can't let Nate become Damian's puppet. But can Devon stop this relationship, or will his actions only bring Nate and Damian closer together? Complicated relationships and impactful decisions on the young and the restless, no one can predict what will happen next. From Victor's schemes to Devon's worries, and the increasingly complicated relationship between Damian and Nate, the story is about to take a big turn. What will Lily decide when faced with Victor's proposal? Will she be able to help Victor bring Aristotle to justice, or will she refuse to protect her family? Devon, who is protective of his family, will face even greater challenges when he realizes that Damian could be a threat not only to Nate but to everyone he loves. The story is still open to many possibilities, and only time will tell whether the characters' decisions will lead to good consequences or a tidal wave that will change everything. In the turbulent world of the young and the restless, it's not always easy for the main characters to find peace. The relationship between Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers has always been full of ups and downs, but after recent traumatic events, especially the horrific kidnapping they endured together, a glimmer of hope has appeared between them. Nick Newman, who has always been there for the family in difficult times, may be the one to help them find the light at the end of the dark road. However, will this change be enough for Sharon and Phyllis to truly heal the wounds of the past? Temporary resolution. Phyllis and Sharon are no longer enemies. Sharon and Phyllis's relationship has always been full of disagreements and tensions. We have seen many times power struggles, emotional outbursts between them in the past, from disputes about love to serious misunderstandings. But after all, the kidnapping has forced both of them to face a harsher reality. Life does not always go as planned. In the most difficult times, they have realized that long-term hatred does not always bring happiness, but sometimes understanding and forgiveness are the path to peace. Phyllis and Sharon are no longer bitter enemies, at least not yet. While they may not be able to become close friends or rebuild their relationship, overcoming the kidnapping nightmare together has allowed them to accept each other's existence in a space free of hatred. Sharon is beginning to understand that she doesn't always have to confront Phyllis to protect herself and her family. Likewise, Phyllis has come to realize that life is not just about pointless disputes, but also about accepting boundaries and the people around her. This doesn't mean they're ready to shake hands and start a close friendship again. They still need time to heal old wounds, but at least the clashes between them have decreased significantly. This is a small but important step forward in their relationship, and it's Nick who will be the one to shine a light on this path. Nick Newman, despite his own struggles in his personal life, was someone Sharon and Phyllis could turn to for support when they needed it. While he couldn't solve all their problems directly, Nick understood that sometimes, the visibility and advice of an outsider could bring about important changes. Nick, as Sharon's brother and Phyllis's trusted friend, realized that while the past could not be changed, they could create a better future if they both agreed. In a conversation with Sharon and Phyllis, Nick offered hopeful expectations for their relationship. He believed that they could walk the path of reconciliation, as long as they didn't let the past ruin their future. However, Nick also realized that it was not enough to just hope and expect. Changing such complex relationships is never easy, and the road ahead will not be without challenges. Sharon and Phyllis both have their own personal struggles, and small changes are not always easy to accept. Phyllis, overcoming personal pain despite the growth in her relationship with Sharon. Phyllis is faced with a harsh reality. The kidnapping mission has left her with deeper wounds that she cannot easily heal. After what she has been through, she cannot simply return to her previous life. Stricken with fear, anxiety, and a sense of loss of control, Phyllis feels the need to change and reevaluate herself.